Hello, hello. Welcome to Sew Steady's Facebook Live presentation. I'm Quinn of Fabricated Quilts, and today we're going to explore the amazing Westerly Heart collection and hopefully explore things that it can do that you didn't know it can do and give you more information about the relationship of the tools. So really quickly, I'm going to put the tools up here so you can see there's quite a few sizes. Hey, Miss Carol, nice to see you. Hi, Nana. Hopefully this will be fun for you guys because we have a lot of cool ideas that we're going to present today. Now, this set is a little more expensive, but the reason it is because look at all of the sizes that you get. You get so much with it. And once I show you some of the things that it can do today, I think you'll be really, you'll see the value. You'll find it awesome. It's just really a fun set. And I won't lie, I just love hearts, period. I mean, I just think they're fun. So I've got a little, just a quick eye candy. This was some of my play. So that's one of the designs that we're going to show you how to do today. The reason that I want to put this design up first is I need to show you some measurement relationships for the hearts so that you'll know. So let me scoot these off. I'm trying to stay organized. I have my ruler rack over here, so hopefully we will still be able to find everything at the end of the day. Okay, so let me put this on here and let me just open up to a piece of paper so I can show you this relationship real quick. Ooh, my needle's a little bit low. Okay, so I'm going to just stitch this part with my stitching line disc really quick so that we can talk about the relationship with these tools. So whenever you're using your stitching line disc, this little hole inside of there, your marking utensil should fit in there really well and not have a lot of play. It should not be able to move around. A little bit is okay, but if it's wiggling around, then you're not going to get a good drawing. You're not going to get accuracy, okay? So real quick, I'm just going to do this one side of this. Now, this line, there's a marking line right here, and this line, I'm going to put a little reference dot right there because this is where we're marking from there to there, okay? Now, the size of this one, this is the 5-inch heart, okay? And I want to show you just really fast how you can use the math of this tool so you can have good understanding of how you can play with it. Oh, I'm trying to get my ruler, but it is stuck under my table. It's too big. Okay, so let's draw a line right here between these two areas. And I'm going to show you. So mine is a little bit off, okay? This whole heart is 5 inches. The distance here, the height right here is divided by 4. So every template that you have, every heart, this is a half circle right here. And the height of the half circle is whatever the heart size is divided by 4. It is 1/4 of whatever size your heart is. So if I have a 4-inch heart, this height is going to be 1 inch if it's a 4-inch heart, right? And so this math is really important. It helps you. So you know this essentially is going to be half of this, because this is half of the heart. So this will be 2.5 for the 5-inch. And then this distance right here is half of this. So 1 1/4 inches right there. And you can write this down if you want to. You can choose it later. But I mean, it's easy to see that the width of this heart and the height of this heart is 5. And one of these humps is half because that's the middle of the heart. And then this distance is going to be half of that. I know that's math. Oh God, I hate it, right? Me too. No, I love it. It's great for us quilters and we get better and better at it all the time. But let me show you how we can use that information really in a powerful way. Okay, so let's start with our first design and show you how powerful that information can be. All right, let's get some fabric. We're ready to sew. So I'm going to show you first a cute little border, and let's go ahead and make just some simple markings so that we can use it the best we can. I know everybody always asks about my marking tools, so today I'm using the General's pastel chalk. It does have an eraser, and you can sharpen it. I usually use a sharpener, but maybe that looks like pencil. So don't use a pencil sharpener to sharpen it. Use a dedicated sharpener in order to sharpen that. Okay, so let's mark a line. And we're going to use a 5-inch width, and I'll explain why in just a second. So we need to make it 5 inches wide. And I could mark this in advance, but if I do, then I don't think that it helps you guys see what I want to show you. So there's my 5-inch, so we'll mark it. And I think we need just a little bit more to show the pattern, so we'll just extend it down just a little bit more. Okay, so we'll just put that in there. Now, we are going to use the 4-inch heart. So let me grab that out of here. And the reason I'm using the 4-inch is because the math is so easy, right? If this is 4 and we divide it by 4, it's 1 inch, right? So this height right here from the top to this center line is 1 inch tall. And then right there to there, that's 2. But we don't really need that. We just need this height for this design. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to mark that 1 inch on each side of this border. Okay, so we have a little reference line. Oh, I can't see where I'm going. Okay, so let's mark that in there. Okay, so you can see we've marked it on this side and we're going to mark it on this side too. Okay, so if this was a 5-inch border that you had on a quilt and you wanted to put this heart in there, we're showing you how you can make a design that will fit it. I cannot see the line, so let me make it a little darker because I need to see it. All right, here we go. And now we can make our 1 inch mark. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about quilting in a circle too, since the shape of the heart has a part of a circle. Okay, when we put any quilting anything and we sew in a line, the quilt draws into the line. And everybody has seen that. If you quilted at all, you see a quilt will shrink up towards the line. But if I sew in a circle, right, the quilt is going to draw this way, this way, this way, that way, that way, and that way. It's going to pull everything in 360. So this is just something to keep in mind because sometimes we'll see that all the reference lines that we've made might go a little wonky, and that's because the quilt is pulling it in all directions. Okay, so all right, so let's go ahead. We'll get lined up. So we could center the border. If we had a center line, we could start in the center and work out. I've talked about that many times, but we're just sort of going to go that way, and we're going to start on this interior line, the tip of the heart. Okay, now the Westerly heart template is pretty fabulous, and it's a little bit unique in the sense that it has grips on both sides. So we always want to make sure that we put them on both sides so that we can use the template on either side. Let me show you one more thing. I'm going to get my needle right in the line. And I want to flip this just a little so you can see the alignment. This line right here is lined up with the needle, this edge of the plastic. So this reference line and this line over here are the same, right? So you got to think about this reference line is the edge of this plastic right here. So we're going to line those up first. And this line up here should also be lined up so I can manipulate it a little if I need to. And that'll touch the top of our border, right? This is our 5-inch border, so right there we're touching the top line. Okay? And now if we want to flip the heart around, we can flip it around. It's going to fit right in the hook there. And let me show you the reference lines now. Whenever we're using a template upside down, these lines might have a little bit of visibility challenges. So let's kind of get you in there. Because now this line is on top, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little shadow on this side, about 1/8 of an inch away from the white line. So when you're lining it up, make sure that you're not aligned on the shadow, but on the white line. Okay, so that's just something that's important. And we should see down here that we can sew right back into our existing design. Okay, we'll close that, try to close our heart right there. Now I'm going to sew back up until I'm on this center line. This is the reference line that we made that is 1/4 of the distance of the heart. It's this height right here. Okay, so now I'm going to flip my heart and I'm going to line it up on this line and right here, and I should be able to touch the top of the border right here. This should be a 1/4 inch distance right there. And let me show you one other reference point. Right here, we should be able to go right through that heart right there at a 1/4 inch distance. So let's do it. Okay, now we can flip the heart. I always want to get you in so you can see. So we have all the reference lines that we need. If we need to, smush a little bit, we can. As I said, the quilt is going to draw up. So we do want to try to connect all of our designs and keep them touching, make sure the heart closes, that type of thing. So right there, we close beautifully. Before you move the template, come up to the midline. Not the middle of the heart, but the line that we made towards the middle, right? So this one right here. Now this one becomes the point of the next heart. So let's show you how we line it up again. You should touch right there at a 1/4. We can get all of our reference lines lined up, and we should be at the top of our boundary. Okay, and flip it around. So who remembers my Fitbit moment, right? Does anybody remember that? I often turn the quilt so that I can show you the alignment. So right here, we're on the reference line here. Right here, we should be a 1/4 inch away. You could always use your spacing gauge to check that. And then down here, we should touch so that the heart will close. So we're always trying to get this at perfect 1/4 so that our design will close. But if you want to look behind and line everything up without turning your sandwich, a lot of times I just stand up and I call it the Fitbit moment. And that way I just get a little stretch, a little squat, and I change my visual perspective. And then I line everything up and I sit down and I keep sewing. Okay, so who knows what we do now? Where are we? Right? So we just finished this side. So we're just going to rotate here. And right here, we're looking for this 1/4 inch right there. And we've got this line lined up on the reference line. And this makes a fun little intersection right here. So always when we have these cool intersections, if you're a template fan, this could be a fun way to put a little template in there. You could cut that center area. Now this design works with every one of these hearts. The key is that you have to know the math. So if I was using, say, a 2-inch, 1/4 of 2 inch is a 1/2 inch, right? And so I would need to have a 2-inch plus that extra top piece, which would be a 1/2 inch. So in a 2.5 inch border, I could tightly fit a 2-inch heart using this same style. So that's why that math is kind of important. So let me get myself lined up. Now we've talked about before, if you don't want it to fit so tightly, I mean, for example, if I put this in a 6-inch border, that would give me a little bit of room. That would give me a little breathing room. And so then I would have space on the top here and here without this touching right at the seam. And that's always a good idea too. If you start in the middle, this could be your center. One of these hearts could be your center. So at this point, we'd flip it around. We'll just do one more just to give you the idea, and then I'll show you just a quick little idea for a fill that is nice and continuous if you wanted to do something in one of these hearts. So this space right here, this is the size of the heart. So if this is a 4-inch heart, this intersection right here is 4 inches wide. Right? And you can use that for planning your border. Whatever the width of your heart is, this is that width. So you can always divide your border up to have whatever your even increments are, and then just put, you know, something else out on the end if you wanted. Like if this was the end, I could finish off whatever the heart that I needed to. Like if this was the end, and then I can just close this with a straight line, just like this. So say I didn't have enough room out here for another heart, I could just fill this in with something else, and that would make the border kind of intentional. Right here at this little opening that we have, this is where you can put a fun little fill in here. So you can just put some nice little curvies in there like this, or you can put straight lines. This would be really easy to fill, because this is continuous, so when we get down to the bottom, we don't have to worry about anything. We can just go right to the next fill without any traveling or anything else, right? So right here, then we are immediately ready to fill all these next sections. And then that just adds a little visual detail to the quilt. So let me show you one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and we'll pull this thread up. So we said that this was 5. If we added a 1/4 inch echo on each side to the heart, we could make it essentially 5.5, or maybe even just a little bit bigger. And let me show you how we can do that. Okay, let's get our little heart back over here. So we have lots of sizes. So this right here is not going to fit. These are the same size. So this is the 4-inch. If I want to echo this, I recommend that you move up one size. So we'll grab the 5-inch size, and you'll see how it'll fit a little better as far as echoing. If I'm trying to do a 1/4 inch echo, I would start at this midline right here, you know, or wherever I needed to. I would close the design, but you know, if this was the boundary, you could always move up a little bit. Like if this was our straight line, move up straight until you're at a 1/4. Now, you're just gonna pull this until you have a pretty 1/4 inch right there. So you can manipulate it a little bit. You're gonna stitch in until the foot touches, and then you can manipulate this. You're looking right here. And let me grab my spacing gauge. I'll show you how you can fit it more precisely. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't find it. Oh, that's okay. I always have an extra, but I had my pink strap. See, you got to put a strap on these guys. They run away. So right here, you can manipulate that like that if you want to really check that you have the precise quarter. And you're going to stitch until your foot just fits right in there. Right, until he's touching on both sides right there. And then same thing. Okay, just like that. So having those different sizes, you can see how valuable that can be to helping you be able to play with it and get exactly what you want and get the echo that you want. And then this would be your last one. And you can see this part goes really quick. I mean, this would be really easy to do. So right into our border. And then let me show you how cute that looks. We'll just pull it out so you can see the front. Oh, guess what Honey found? He found it. He found my spacing gauge. He's such a good helper. All right, let me cut these so we can show you. So there we go. Right? So this would add a 1/4 inch right here, and if we did it on the other side, then instead of being 5, which is the interior, we could make it 5 1/2, and then that would be potentially an even better fit for the 6 inch. So Susan, on this one, I'm going to answer the question that Susan Digman just asked. She asked if I could use the echo ring. So let's talk about that for a second. If I put the echo ring on, this template is an interior shape, not an exterior shape. So if I put the echo ring on and I put it in here, essentially I'm making it smaller. And what I actually need is I need this 5. I need this size or it won't echo. The fact is that this fits perfectly in that 1/2 inch right around there. If I did this, 5 is exactly a 1/2 inch spacing away. The ring itself would be a perfect fit right there. If I actually put the echo ring on, that would make this a smaller diameter circle, and then in fact it would not fit. If I had this shape and it was an exterior shape like the inside of the heart, then that echo would be awesome to have, but because we're on the inside, it would not work in this instance. So anytime you're using an echo ring, and for those that don't know, she's talking about something like this. You put this on your foot. You would press it all the way down. Make sure that it is seated. Ooh, sorry, went a little too far. And then you would be able to stitch like this using that, and this would change the shape. So I could definitely use this, but it is a little bit of a tricky alignment inside of a heart since now the needle is no longer centered. Right here we have this hook that the foot fits in, and it gives you precise alignment. And since we don't have the full shape, we have only half, this becomes the needle alignment. So for this particular template, I actually don't really like to use the echo ring. I think it's complicated because you have to understand where the needle would be. And so this one is 3/4 inch. So we'd have to have the needle mark 3/4 inch over from where it is now on both sides. And then when you flipped it over, you would have to align it that way too. And I just think that that's really tricky. I would rather just grab my other size heart, because I have 6 sizes, and use the other size, because I think that would be a lot easier. All right, when you're taking this off, you can just wiggle it a little bit like that. Just gently wiggle it, and you can take it right off. Okay, so did you guys like that? Was that interesting, fun, exciting, awesome? Okay, let's do one more little detail in here. Let's make a little heart somewhere. Do we have enough room right there? I don't think we do. We'll make a smaller heart because I want to show you something that you can do with hearts that's really fun. So we'll get a little smaller size so we can play with it. Let me cut some threads so we don't get trapped. All right, you know, I have to clean up all these threads afterwards. I need better thread management. Put it in the trash can, right? Okay, so I think we can fit our little heart in here, and we'll just scoot him over as far as we can. So I'm just going to use this line, and he should fit in there pretty good. Okay, so let's pull this up. Set our needle in place. I'm going to get these underneath there so they'll be out of our way. We'll end up stitching through them, but they'll be okay. All right, so we'll flip this over after we finish this side. Also, you can always do this too. If this is of interest to you, you can always double stitch your heart. This is an important thing to note because let's say you needed to be on the top, but you started down here, you ended down here, but you need to be up here for whatever design you might want to do, then you can just travel back up. And that double stitching is always great because it's going to create a lot more visual dynamic. It's got a lot more thread laid down, so it'll be a little bit more intense. All right, once we line up everything, the key to closing your heart is making sure this center mark, let me show you, let's get you in a little better. Let's see if this light, oh, that doesn't really help us. That just makes it worse. It makes for more glare. Is that okay? Let Honey know if you think that's better or worse, and then I can turn it off if it's no good. This line right there needs to be lined up right where that stitching is. This is your 1/4 inch indicator between these two lines as they come in. Okay, so once we line that up, that's how we can make sure the heart will close. So really great reference lines. I don't know if you can see this, but literally, let me see if I can bring this up just a little bit. Look at how perfectly that closed right there. Okay, so really, really useful to put those lines and get them perfectly lined up. So we're going to put our needle down. I'm going to flip it so we can show you some fun stuff. All right, here we go. One of the things I love about any of our templates that have a hook, I absolutely love that we can use them for sort of a cross-hatching effect. So here, if we wanted to, we can just tip it. We'll use this line right here and we'll make this reference line touch. And then we can stitch until the foot connects, right? And then we'll stitch back. Try not to move anything while you're doing that. Try to hold your ruler in place. So it looks like mine is a little wonky. It's missing a little staple tape. So if you ever, find that your template is shifting around, just go ahead, clip a little piece, and put another one on. And here I do like them to be a little bit close to where I'm holding right there. That's kind of, I'm going to hold this on the edge like that. Okay, so we said we're tipping it so that this line touches. And now we can do another little echo. Touch, stitch back. Okay, and we'll do the same thing. And we may get to a point here where we can not do any more with that line or that reference line because we're kind of getting down to where there might not be enough. Well, and then here we can say, okay, we'll just make it shorter now because we're getting to that half of the heart. That's going to give us a 1/4 inch echo right there. And now we'll start making each one just a little shorter than that. So I'm looking at the foot spacing. So there's a 1/4 inch. So I'll stitch back. Okay, and we'll do the same thing. We're just going to start making each one just a little bit shorter than the last one. And then, at some point I can just say, okay, I've had enough. Maybe we'll do one more. Have you had enough? But doesn't that look awesome? I love it. And that is a great way to put a fill in here with very little work. And you get a lot of great detail and it adds a lot of thread. So if you have a decorative thread, oh, bam, it looks awesome. Super fun. And you could even crosshatch with this, but if you're going to crosshatch, I would use something a little flatter. This would be hard to crosshatch here if you did it from the point. But if you crosshatch from the top of the heart, we'll do that one next so you can see how that one looks because it looks awesome. All right, and we've done some different sizes. So let's see, we'll use the 2-inch this time, just for variety. So this one's the one that we did just now. That's the 3, and you can see this is the 2-inch, and they go down quite dramatically in size. Okay. All right, so we'll stick him down here. We'll just kind of line him up randomly. Actually, let's see if we can make a line. So we can do a little visual comparison this way. So we'll have a center line. There we go. So once again, these reference lines can really help us. If this is the intersection, this is where the dip of the heart hump is going to go. And then we would line this up down here. That's another way that you can get yourself right into where your heart needs to be. Put your needle right in that center intersection. That way, if you had somewhere that you wanted the heart to be centered, you could set the needle first, and then you can just put the needle down and tuck this into there. Now, if you can see, let me show you this alignment again. This is upside down. So you can tell that this is off a little bit. Right? It's hard to get it lined up when the lines are upside down. That's just how it is. So you're going to have to manipulate a little bit in order to get there. So it looks like I need one more stitch there. Okay, and once I'm at the bottom, I'll flip it over, and I'm going to use these 2 lines. So let's show you to get lined up. So right here, I'm a little bit off. I guess my needle is 1 stitch off, but I think it'll all work out, right? As we stitch, oh my goodness, sorry. Let's cut those before we stitch them in. Let's get these little guys out of there. All right, and if you move around when you're trying to get back, let's make sure we check with our spacing gauge real quick. Oh, sorry guys, I dropped mine. Thank you, honey. So right there, I can put that spacing gauge right there, and I can make sure that everything's going to close nicely. I can do a little adjustment right there. Now, remember what we said. We wanted to be at the top here, because on this one, we were down at the bottom. So let's flip it, and I'll show you how we're going to do it now. This is the hook. Right here at the bottom, we can just make this touch essentially right at the base as much as possible, right? We want to get this reference line there. Okay, right at where we left off. Tipping again. So now we're touching right here. Let's get ourselves right in the hook. Right there we go. We're back there. Stay in the hook. Keep your foot connected at the hook, because otherwise he starts to push in a little too far. And I think I would want to maybe only do this on one side because it kind of creates a really cool wave. So if you kind of get off, get yourself back into your spot because there's a lot of stitching right there. So if you kind of have come a little far, Oh, I don't know if we can even get another one in there. See right there? That's what we're looking at. We're trying to get close to that, but because of the curve, we can't. So I think we'll just do one more. Oh yeah, so we don't want to stitch into him. If you think it's going to stitch into him, I would say then you're done. But look at how it kind of creates that rotational piece. So you would want to just maybe stitch in. I would take this last one out. I don't think he looks that awesome. He looks like he's in trouble. But that could be really fun. That could just be something different. And the bigger heart is going to make this even easier because you're going to have more space so that this will have more definition. All right, so I'm going to get my crosshair square out really quick, and we're going to show you some ideas for that. Pretty fun. Okay, so let's see. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to show you a complete gee whiz bang that you just won't believe. Let's make a line right here, just a straight line. We just need a little room. We just want to space this design away from the existing design real quick. Who likes clamshells? Does anybody like them as much as me? I love them. I think they're so awesome. All right, so let's grab our 3-inch heart again. And I'm going to try to make sure I put all my hearts in there. Did I put them away?
Some.
Oh, here's one.
I got a 4 and a 5.
Here you go. Okay, yeah, thank you. I just don't want any to go missing. Yeah, Linda had a great idea. Linda Dean Lord, she said, like, when you get to this part where it's not going to fit, this last one, this is where you could just kind of go, woo, and then just come back out and maybe echo over the top. I think that's a great idea, Linda. I'm totally going to try that. Thanks for your input. Okay, so I got asked again. This is Bohin, B-O-H-I-N. It's a French-made product, and it has a nice fat chalk. And I do really like it because it does erase pretty easily. And it even comes with an eraser, although I use my white eraser because that works even better. And it is designed for quilting, so it's absolutely quilter friendly. So let me show you real quick what I want to show you. And let's try to use this. If you're using it this way, I want you to use it with the words face up, okay? So we already did the math. If this is 3 inches, what's 3 divided by 4?
1 1/4.
1 1/4. 3/4. Okay. So the height, the 3/4 is the height of this clamshell, right? See the clamshell right there? The height here is 3/4 inches, which means that from here to here, it's 1 1/2 because this is 3. So this is half of that distance, right? So you're going to line up your lines wherever you want to put your clamshell. Sorry, I told you math. I have to really think hard. Thank you for honey. So now I'm right in the hook. I know when to stop. Line it back up. Just move forward. Right? And let me show you the alignment. So there's your line right there, and you've got the other line right here. And if you're using it with the words up, your lines should be nice and visible. No problems visibility-wise. Right into the hook. Move forward. Check your alignment at the back. That way you don't end up, you know, kind of having some weird overstitching type of thing. Okay, and we'll just do like 2 more, and then I'm going to show you how you move up. Okay, so we'll do 1 more. Now, when you do the last one, we're going to say we're at the end of the border here. So this is the last one, right? And you're on the line. Don't move anything when you're on the last one. Stitch up to the top, right in the middle. Your needle should be right here in the center. And now we're ready for the next one. Now I'm going to flip it around so you can see the alignment when we go to the next row. So let's cut some threads, get these out of our way. Okay, I'm putting them in the thread bag. I'm terrible. I have to clean up always after our show. I have thread everywhere. This guy's going to fit right into the hook. This line right here is lined up right there with the top of all of the clamshells. So that's how we are able to keep ourselves aligned. In addition, if we could, do a few reference marks, this line should be in the center there. So I might want to make a little adjustment if it's kind of like that and I can see obviously that these two are not lined up. I can just take a little smush right there and now I'm better. Right? Right there. Get lined up. So if I was going to do a lot of these, I might put a few reference marks. Like I could make 3-inch channels or I could use a 1.5-inch grid. And then these would fit in there perfectly and you'd have lots of reference lines that you could use. So it's always a key when you're at the bottom of your clamshell like this. This is my cheat method. Here, let me get you guys in a little better. We'll get you up top a little. You're getting away from me. Okay, so here I would have to maybe go like this, like if this is the half right here, you can do the same alignment. You can use the line on this side and you would do half. And once you're at the top, if you're at the top, then you're ready to get lined up. So there's your line, and we would check this center line. Hopefully we would be able to get right in the middle. And then we'd be ready for our very next row right there. Now, I want you to think about this, right? This is a 1.5 by 3/4 inch clamshell. How many clamshells do you have if you have the heart set? You have 6 more. 6 more. Pretty awesome, right? Okay, now we'll just be crazy. We'll do something crazy. Let's just cut this really quick. We'll just scoot over here and just be crazy for a minute. We'll stick our needle down and we'll just line it up like this. If I go to that halfway mark right there, get my needle right lined up, I can flip this around. Make sure he's tucked right in there. And look what I have. Right? I have a perfect circle. So if I'm using my heart and I need a circle, then I can just use my heart for a circle. I don't have to go get another template. I don't have to go get an inside or an outside. I can use the one that I have. So it's going to be that same measurement, right? Whatever the heart you have. If you have a 5-inch heart, your circle is 2.5 because it's the dimension across the widest part at the bottom right there. So this is 3, so it's going to be 1.5-inch circle. Okay? All right, I love that clamshell. I love that it gives me more sizes of clamshells because sometimes you just want a tiny one, a little cute, quirky clamshell, and I don't have to do anything to work for it. I can just have all the reference lines that I need, all the markings that I need, and then I have 6 more of them, which I love. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. Let's cut this and that, get all those threads off of there. Okay, now I'm going to show you another fun border. So we need a little room. And I think I did this one up to 4 inches. So let's make a little mark on here. We need a little 4-inch space. So I'm going to leave a little room here because I don't want to be right up to the edge. Susan, I'll try to show it at the end. So we're going to move on to the next design, but I'll try to show it. But remember that you have the ability to go back to the video and view it again. So if you want to mark the time right now, like how far in we are on the broadcast, then you'll know where that circle is. It'll be just before now. So, all right, let's go ahead and get marked really fast. Okay. So this line is not as precise as some of the other lines that I made because this is kind of a fat line. So I may end up smushing a little bit to get everything lined up, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I just want you to know that if you see, that it looks a little inaccurate, it probably is because this is a very, very wide chalk pencil and the line that it's going to make is pretty wide. Okay, so this design is going to fit more specifically whatever size that you have. Okay, so if you're doing it at 4, it's going to fit at 4. So let's see, I've got the wrong size. So let me grab my 4. I was like, wait, it doesn't fit. What's the problem? Okay, so we'll set it this way. And remember what I said, this line right here will line up at the base. The foot will sink down right in this space right there. Now, if I was going to do this, and you always want to think about it, if you have a 4-inch border, then this would be tight. That heart is not going to shrink down. It is going to be 4. So if you want to make it 4, make sure that your border is wide enough to accommodate that. You can't have it be a little smaller than 4 in certain places, right? So we'll get everybody lined up, and we should, right here at the top, we should see that 1/4 inch, right? Because that's our alignment right there. So the math that we just did is going to come into play here. So mine is flattening out right there because my stable tape is impeding me. You see that right there? So you can see my heart is looking a little wonky. So make sure that if your stable tape is getting a little old like mine, it's flattening out, it's kind of falling apart. You can see it's picked up a lot of color. Maybe that's time for you to put some new stable tape on there. All right, so when we do this one, this is where that math is going to come into play. So I'm going to get everybody lined up. I'm going to look at my, see, oh my goodness. Oh, he just came right off. Definitely time to replace this one. In fact, let's show you that real quick. I'll put another piece on, but I want to show you what happens. So the stable tape has an adhesive sheet, right? And you can just pull it off, right? And look at that. There's nothing on there. It's not sticky or anything. That's the stick tack part right there, and just came right off. I did not plan this, believe me. I just haven't used these in a while, and so I guess they are telling me it's time. Put a new piece on me. I do have the 12-pack. Usually my stable tape will stay on for a really long time. I mean, I've had it stay on well over a year. And I live in a hot, dry area, but definitely over time you will want to replace them. And you can see that the ridges on this comparatively, let's see if we can pull that up so you can see. See how this one has really great texture. I mean, literally when I feel it, I can feel it's nubby. And then this one right here, he's like really flattened and he's in the way right there too. So really important to go ahead and replace them periodically as they start getting a little worn. So there's my line, and I want the line right there to line up with where my thread is going to end. Okay, so we'll do that. Get ourselves down there. Close up our heart. Now we're going to put some other little hearts in a line out here. And this is where that math comes in. So the hearts, the next one is 3 inches, and obviously that's an inch shorter. So we want it to be able to touch somewhere. So we can't come up all the way, but we have to come up far enough that half of the heart. So what we're looking at is that heart should touch about 1 1.25 up. A 3-inch heart, half of it is, you know, 1 and 1.5. So we're going to play with it, and then we'll see what size, you know, if we need to shift right here. So what I want is I want to go far enough forward that I can line up the bottom right here so that the hearts will all touch on this bottom line. But I want a little bit less overlap perhaps. So, you know, this is what you're going to use right here. So right here, this is as far out as I can get. I'm going to have to use the next one and overlap. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the top part first, right? And then we'll come down to the bottom and stop right in the line. Okay, we'll get lined up. We need to close our heart. And we'll touch. And now our 2-inch heart is going to be somewhere around 1 inch. So somewhere about 1 inch right there. That's what we're looking at because it's about halfway. We might have to adjust it a little bit, but that's okay. So we're looking to get this lined up where he's touching on the bottom, and we will have some overlap right there. Okay, and then we'll flip this and we'll get lined up there so we can close the heart. And we'll do the baby heart too, because we can. There's something I want to show you about the baby heart. He is, I think, easy to make a mistake with this. Okay, so let me hold him up. This is the 1/4 inch alignment right here, right? And I think a lot of times people look at this, but they don't realize that the foot is going to sit actually a little further out here. It's going to take up all this space. So when I line this guy up, I need to make sure that that line is the line. I'm not like that. I have to be down there because the foot has to have that area where he can come down to, right? So there is no little foot right here to line up with. This is the correct line right there. So we'll do the top and we'll have to come back. And the reason that that's tricky, I think, is that the other one touches this line, but this one doesn't. And you always have to make sure that you realize that, or you're not going to get the correct alignment. Ask me how I know. I messed it up already this morning. So right there, you're lined up. This is your reference line. And let's see, then we'll finish off our heart. Okay, now, right now, we want to sew over essentially 2 inches, and we can play with it. We can make some judgment calls, but I like to just use the edge of the template right here, and we'll just sew down a little bit. This would be in our boundary. If you were doing this in a free-floating area where this wasn't your boundary, I'd stop, I'd cut the thread there because we don't have any stitching in between the other ones. See that? We get this cute little overlap right there. And what we're going to try to do is set up our 4 again so that we can have a cute overlap. We don't want to cut right into this baby, but we want to have this heart fill up this space right here pretty good. So let's go just a little bit more. Let me turn it so you can see what I'm looking for. And remember that this is a design that I made up, okay? There's no rule. You can make your own rule if you want to. So right there, I want to check and make sure I'm not going to cut into that heart. I don't want to just accidentally cut in. I either want to intentionally cut in, notably so, or not at all. So what I'm looking for is to try to just clip that right at the outset and touch it right there. So that's when your spacing gauge is your friend. And I think that this should work, but if I'm at like maybe one more stitch would give me a little bit more movement freedom there to make sure that I'm not going to cut into it. So I'm going to make sure I'm lined up right here. And now I'll put this heart in. And the reason I like this design is this big heart is going to fill up the gap caused by the little hearts. So we come in there and then we'll do the next one. And then we'll get lined up so that everybody's in their spot. Close your heart, and now we'll come back up. And right here, this is the 1.5, and then we would start trying to put that 3-inch right in there. And so let me show you what it looks like. Let me just tack it off real quick. Oh, my bobbin is talking to me. We might have to switch our bobbin thread. I thought I had a little bit more in there, but I just wanted to use it up. I'm sure you guys can relate. Nobody wants to change their bobbin and have like just a tiny bit left, right? Right? So this essentially is one repetition. And then I like this one where he kind of fills in this space right here. He kind of goes in. Now you can make him overlap. That's your call. If you wanted to sort of measure some of these and make this come in, maybe it touches this one on the bottom, but it overlaps this one. That could be another thing that you could do. It's totally your call. I mean, this is something that is not, it's not like there's any rules here. You just do what you want to do. And you can make that look however you want. Now, I will tell you, let me show you my other sample real quick. Here's some other ideas for how you can use it. So I was playing with it to kind of see what I could get. Kathy, we have a teal spacing gauge now. Are you just seeing it? Isn't it awesome? I completely love it. I can find it. That's the best part. So yes, it's on our website. If you want to have a teal spacing gauge, you can absolutely have that. Okay, so look right here. Here we made it so that we were a little further out. We didn't have any overlap, right? So this is a different way that you can do it. This would mean that you would have to sew out to a little bit lower. You know, you're not coming down here. You're coming down to this midline right here, just below that. And then you would be looking here so that you don't have any overlap. So let me put the template on so I can show you what I mean. We would sew this heart and we would be somewhere on this side, right, in the stitch line. And what you're going to do is you would line up this on the bottom, but you would line it up in such a way where you would have no overlap right here. So if this is a 1/4 inch or less, right, that's how you get it with no overlap. So anywhere along this line, you can play with it, and that would create overlap or no overlap. So then when we sewed this one, right, we would sew down, close the heart, and we'd come back up, and then we'd put this new heart on there, the smaller size one. And you would want it to be where the foot would allow you, where that is only a 1/4 inch right there and no bigger, right there. Okay, so you'd have this lined up on the bottom, but you can see how much further over that we are. And when I played with this, I didn't really like this. I feel like if you flipped the heart and you weren't touching like that, where you just touched the edge here, then this big heart would wing out into this open space. So I actually showed you with the hearts all going the same way. But this would just be another option if you wanted to flip it and have a set where you flip it and a set where you don't. And then you could have vastly different sizes. You know, the 5-inch heart here would take up more room and a 6-inch would take up more room. But you can use as many or as few as you like so that you really can just play with that. And then right here, all this is my foot. Just echoing that, using my ruler foot and free motion echoing that. You could use the edge of the template to echo, but I think it's a little bit too much work and it looks fine. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so let's see, where are we now? Let me show you something else that we have with these fantastic hearts, because they're awesome. All right. I'm going to answer Peggy Anderson. Do you always feel the need for a fill? I kind of do. And I would say that I didn't. Maybe 5-10 years ago, I didn't feel that way. But I am comfortable enough now that that doesn't fill me with anxiety. So I like to do it. It's relaxing, it's meditative, it's fun. If it's not for you, that's okay. Then don't do it. You should do what makes you happy and what design that you think is fun and pretty. And if it's creating anxiety, then maybe it's not worth it. It's okay. You make that call because you are in charge of you. And your designs, I'm sure, will be just as good as mine, but you're just going to find your own path. So don't worry. Okay, so let's get our fabric back out. All right, you guys, you have to go with me on this one. This is like off the deep end. Okay, so we need a little bit of a line, a center line, so we can create some fun things for you. So I'm just going to continue that line, and we're going to put a little reference marks in here, okay? So let me show you the template that I've got now. So this one is called the 6-inch inside-outside curve. One of the things I love about the inside-outside curve is that the curve on this side is the same as this side. And remember that here that you've got the difference between the inside of a template and the outside. So that's why this one looks a lot different than this one. But this one you're sewing in and this one you're sewing out. So this makes some really beautiful curves. It's got a lot of things it can do, but all we're going to do right now is we're going to use it as a curve. And I'm just going to mark it a little bit. I'm going to stick the edges of this squared off bit right on my line. I have the potential to sew it later on if I want to, but for now I'm kind of going to show you something where I'm not doing that. So I don't want to worry about that right now. So I'm going to try to get it lined up, and it might be a little wonky. My line doesn't extend all the way down. Okay, so this is just giving me some space here where I can put a design in, and I'm going to show you how we're going to decide what can go in there and what size can go in there in just a minute. But I also want to sort of create a little boundary here so that we know where to stop, essentially. You'll see where I'm going in just a second. Some of these might be a little bigger than I wanted. We'll have to play with it. Fortunately, we have a really, really big template that we can use. So we'll just kind of close that like that, okay? So this center line, we're not using this at all. So I'm just going to show you, we don't need this. This was just for marking our curve, okay? There, you see it now? Let's kind of get you backed up so you can see the space a little bit. Okay, so this is the space that we're working with right here, and we kind of closed it right there so that it hits this line. All right, so let me show you some things we're gonna do. We'll start with this one kind of in the center. And it's a loose center, there's no rules, okay? It's okay, you don't have to worry about if it's perfect or not. So let's see, we're missing one of our sizes. Where did it go? 5, we need the 4. Can you look, babe? Did I set it down right there? We're looking for the size 4 heart. See, honey he has a much better vantage point than I do. So I think 6 is too big for this one. So we'll put it in the box. Let's check these sizes. What I'm looking for is to have this sew into my space. So you can see right now, this is way too big. It's going out really far. Let's see how our 4-inch size will fit. So what I want is I kind of want this to fill up the space as best it can, right? So there's a 1/4 inch right there. And you can do this with any curve. I'm not trying to say you need to get the curve that I have. I liked it. I had it. I pulled it out, and you can get it. It's awesome, but you can also use what you have at home. So we'll tack this off and get our needle set in place. Okay. This is to show you some versatility with these hearts, right? So here I've got the 1/4 inch right here at the top. And if I need to, I can manipulate it or not. And I'm going to just sew and try to get as much of the curvature as I can. Okay? And technically it should not sew, you know, outside my boundary. And if it does, that's all the more reason why I'm marking the boundary first. So I'm going to come back over here. And let me show you what we have just to start with. Okay, we just have one little shape. Anybody know where I'm going yet? Anybody see it? Okay, I'll do the next one. All right, so I had to come in a little bit, and I might need to shorten this a little bit, but what I'm looking for is this curvature, and I kind of want to come back to the center loosely. It's not, you know, firm. I have to get right here, but I want to come back to that center. So pretty good there. We'll come up a little bit. Okay. Now I don't know exactly where I need to be, right? But I'm going to play with it and figure it out. I still want the 1/4 inch here, so I might need to pull this down a little bit so that he doesn't sew outside, but that's okay. That's just going to reduce a little bit of the curvature, but not much. We're touching. We'll come back up here. Okay, now this space is starting to get a little bit smaller, but I can still fit this shape in there. Okay, and let me show you something that I just did that I would watch for if you were at home. Right there, I might be careful about stitching below. If this is your boundary, like your seam or whatever, just stop at the seam. Even if it's not touching, it won't matter. Nobody will notice except you. So we'll just go back up here to the top. Okay, now I want you to look at the space and see what you're going to see. Okay. This is now a good bit smaller. If this will not fit, which it might not because it's only a certain amount of space, I might just put something like this on there and sew this in and try to get more of the curve even if I can't get the bottom, right? So right there now, I'm at the bottom. He can't make it all the way back. Let's see if we can get you a better view. Okay. Now what do we do, right? So if this was a curve, right? This is the end right there. So, oh, I didn't do it. I should always leave the template on there until you're done. But overstitching is good. And I can just put a little curvature in there, right there, to fill up that space, right? And then this could be one side, and then I could do a matching one on this side and a matching one on the other side. So what I'm showing you here is that this can make a beautiful feather. It can. Now, there are some limitations. You know, the feather is longer, the Westerly feather set, but that is a really pretty shape, don't you think? And let me show you one more cool thing that we can do. So we'll just come back to our center, use our straight edge and our calibrated eyeball. Now we probably want to use the same size that we used initially, so let me find mine. So let's put some veining in there. A long one, and then a shorter one. I like 3, but you can, you know, do whatever you want. It's your call. And a little shorter one. Okay. So there, can you guys see that? No, let's see if we can move you out just a touch. Thank God my camera is easy to adjust, huh? There you go. All right, and so we'll just do one more just so you can kind of see. I've got the foot hook right there, so that's the shape. So I'm just coming in some random amount. I know I want, you know, about a 1/2 inch, so I can't come in too deep or the feather is gonna come all the way into the middle. So do a long one. And then make it touch. A little shorter. And then maybe a little shorter. And then, you know, if you get off your center, just correct it. I always, you know, try to get myself back there so that I can clean it up. But can you imagine how that would look? And of course, you could make them smaller because we have smaller hearts. So let me show you in my notebook. I was playing with it and I just used the 12-inch arc. So I have a little design drawn out that I can share with you. So this is the 12-inch arc feathered with the heart right there. I literally, you know, clipped it, but with the 12-inch arc, you can always finish this by flipping the other one around. So this curve, if you flipped it, it would go right into the next curve. And doesn't that look pretty? And then I imagine that this would feather fabulously in anything that was circular. So like if you had a half circle, because the relationships here are circular, you could make an amazing fill with just that little top of your heart and spinning from the center. It would look amazing. You could totally make an amazing design with these hearts. So let me show you one more kind of cool idea. Let's see if we can come out just a little bit. So this would depend just on whatever spacing of your biggest heart. Okay, so what you're doing is you're stacking them, and mine were graded. You can tell I've got big, smaller, smaller, and then big again. And it would just be repeated, and you're connecting right from where you're leaving off. Now this would be perfect in a channel like this. So if this was 4, then your channel would be maybe 4.5, and then you would make your channels separated, and then you could start, and maybe then this one would be opposite, you know, like if you start one at the bottom and you start with the biggest one and then you go up, and then the other one you would start with the biggest one at the top and go down. And that would be such a cute design, and that's a way that you could use your hearts as an all over, like an edge to edge design. And that's really simple. You're just making like 4.5-inch channels, or if you had a 5-inch heart as the biggest one, maybe 5.5. And that half would allow for that 1/4 inch on each side so that these designs wouldn't bump into each other. But you could choose whatever spacing you wanted. If you wanted them to bump into each other, that's okay too. So, all right, so let's see where we're at. I think I have one more to show you. Actually, I'm going to see, can you guys do me a favor? I'm going to make a mark and kind of get settled, but if you have questions really quickly, go ahead and put those out, and Honey's going to relay those, and then we'll answer some questions for a few minutes, and then we'll move on to whatever's next.
So Marie asked if you could do those lines, the accent marks, with the feather template instead of the heart template.
Can we make... Yes, Marie, you can absolutely make feathers the same way. A curvy feather, the Westerly feathers makes amazing feather designs, amazing feather designs. Let's see if I have it. A sample real quick. We're looking for that blue one. Oh, maybe it's not there. I don't see it. It's got to be over there somewhere. I'll post, I have it posted on my Facebook group and on my site, but I have a lot of heart patterns that are done with the Westerly feathers, and the Westerly feathers are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. What you're just going to get here is a little different shape. The Westerly feather has more of that paisley where it curves in, and this one doesn't. This is only straight on one side. The hearts, I think it's $90 for the heart set, but I'm not 100% sure. I have to look on there. There's so many pieces, and I just can't remember everything anymore. So where do we find? So this video will be posted right here, and then I'll also be sharing it to my Westerly support group and on Fabricated Quilts as well, and probably Westerly Westerly by me also will share it there. So, you know, whichever site that you want to work with, we've got this available for you many times. All right, so let's get this tacked off, and we'll show you the last one. So I'll just reiterate real quick my tie off. I like to stitch a bunch of times, and then I stitch this about 5 or 6 times. You're going to hold this loop right here. This is your top thread, which is connected to the quilt. Place your foot right where you left off, and you're going to bring your needle down and up and raise your presser foot. You have to raise your foot so you can release tension on your thread. Now, if I just pull on this, look it, nothing's going to happen. Let me move it out just a little so you can see better. You need to pull the loop and the other side of the loop in order to draw that bobbin. If I just pull this side right here, nothing's going to happen. So make sure that you're lifting on both sides, and that will bring your bobbin thread up to the top, and then you can trim it. The bobbin will go away, and then these are the threads that are remaining that you can just snip off. Okay? All right, so let's make one more channel. Let's see, maybe we can do it in this channel. We'll just get some of those wavies out of there. Okay, let's see. We need to measure real quick so we know what size that is, because this design does require some size, so that's not quite right. It's not any even number, so we'll just make a little channel over here. So mine's going to be maybe just slightly bigger with this fat chalk than 3 inches right there, but this is where we're going. It's a little bit crazy. Let me open it up for you. This crazy design right there, right? It's kind of fun. It's a little bit crazy, but I'm going to show you how to do that. Alrighty, let's get ourselves in there, and let's make our center line. I guess we'll start on this side. So since I want to go this way, I will start down here so that I can manipulate that way. I know, some of these are like, you know, would I really do that? Yes, some of them I would. I would do. Most of the ones I showed you today, I would actually sew. This one is a little quirky, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So, Susan, I think you were the one who was asking me about doing the circle. So this is the half circle right there, and if we wanted to do the rest of the circle, then we would want to kind of flip that around and do the other side of it. So I got to flip it over. So this is how that one is done. So we've got the arc right there. So this one's going to be a little bit big, and you would want to play with it on paper to find out what your midline is. So really this one is kind of working from the center, and we want to line up both sides of that. So like right here, let's see if we can, what I mean is that we would want to line this up so that we have these aligned like that, so that this end will be the beginning over here. So it may not, just because we don't have all the reference lines that we need, but you're looking right here for your 1/4 inch. So let's check that, because we do want to close the circle, so we got to make sure that we measure correctly. So right where we are, right there, this should be right at a 1/4 inch, because that's what's going to close that right there. Okay, so let me show you. There's the oval. And then we want to come back in, so we'd flip this. And there's our 1/4 inch right there. We want to measure that also, because we don't want them to bite into each other, right? So we want them to touch. And of course we would need that center line right here to keep everybody lined up. I'm not sure if I've got the correct center line. So flip it over. And now we've got these reference lines, and we want to check that 1/4 inch right there. So I really think a few more lines would help us, I think, to make sure that this design is going to fit nicely. Right? And then we'd come back up to the middle, right here. And then this is where the back of the template should hit, like that, right? That's how you're going to travel to the next one. It would line up down here. It's not going to cut into anything there. So you can do the top first or the bottom, either way, but you're going to have to come back towards that center in order to, oh, you guys, that's it, darn it. But anyway, you see the issue. So this will make that shape, and then you're going to flip it, and then you would have these cute little aliens for your quilt, right? That would look awesome. Alrighty, so I'm going to just look through the feed really quick. So I think that, do you feel like you have a million new ideas? Is your brain on fire? I know, I made you do math today. Don't tell my boss. Oh, us quilters, I mean, we like our math. We do it incognito. We think of it as not math. We think of it as fun, but there is some math in there a lot of times. Okay, so let's see where we are. Yeah, I do have some crazy ones. It does look like an alien. And put some little eyeballs, some small eyeballs right in the middle, touching right there, or maybe like looking down. I think that would be really funny. But, you know, sometimes you have that quilt that just needs it. Like, you know, maybe your kid likes space and you just want to put a little Martian head on your little, you know, child's quilt. And, you know, this could be really elegant. It looks one way here, but, you know, this shape right there is kind of like a leaf, which is kind of cool. So if you have the center line, you can just use the heart and not use the top. You can just use this part and line it up here and sew it, and then flip it the other way to sew the other side, and you would just get this leaf shape. So realize that there's tremendous versatility. It's about how you use it, and there's so many amazing shapes on here and lines that you can really get tremendous value out of these templates, way more than you would expect. So, and I feel like that with every template. I feel like part of my fun, my interest in sharing is that there is so much versatility, and that we can change how we think of something, and then we can say, oh, wait, there's a million more possibilities, which is such a great way, you know, for everyday living. Helps us get more out of our life. All right, so let's see. So Joyce, have I used this design? Is that the question? Honestly, no, I've never used it. I designed it this morning, but now I will look for an opportunity to use it. So, okay, well, Joyce, we'll talk to you later. Linda Dean, I think you got a really good deal. I think it costs more than $80. I think it is $90. I'm pretty sure, but I will check for you. But you can always check on our website, sewsteady.com. We have all that information there, really easy. I'm going to answer Judy Heineman. She was responding to someone else. Okay. If you have a machine that is low shank or high shank, we do typically recommend that you follow whatever your machine has. My machine is capable of using a long arm thick template. And I can tell you that that's this one right here. So I'm going to compare it for you. Okay, just to show you a different one. This is high shank and this is long arm. Literally, the manufacturer of my machine in the manual says you can use high shank or long arm. Because I also have a long arm, I want long arm because then it is more versatile for me. And what is the key is that if I put this back here, this fat template, nothing is impeded. I can move anywhere I want. Some people, if they have a high shank foot and they try to put a fat long arm template behind their foot right there where the metal comes down, that will bind on the template and prevent them from moving freely, which is why we are constantly trying to get people the best fit of products for whatever their machine is. Judy was mentioning that she has a Bernina number 72 foot. The 72 foot has a giant cutaway. Let me see if I can find mine. For you Bernina users, okay? This is the number 72 foot, and this foot has a huge amount of clearance right there. Like if you have your foot, your ruler right there, look at how much room there is for fabric. A lot, right? And this foot also is height adjustable. So if you have fat fabric, you can move the foot up. So this foot can easily use the long arm templates without any problem. So if you have more than one machine, any Sew Steady authorized reseller or Sew Steady, you can message them. You can also message any of our educators. We will try to help you find the best fit for all of your machines. Sometimes, though, we cannot give you the best fit. Typically, if you have a machine that has high shank and you have a low shank machine, for most machines, you would be able to use low shank on a high shank. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, this is my low shank ruler right here, super skinny. We'll just do a little visual comparison, right? Low shank, long arm, high shank, okay? So you can see all of the different ones. The reason that you have a low shank at all is that right at the back of the foot, the low shank has a metal bar that comes down very, very far, very far. And if I try to put a fat ruler under that metal bar, then this ruler will not be able to move. So if you have a low shank, that's why we are recommending low shank. But on mine, I have a high shank and I'm using my low shank ruler. There's no problem. I can use it any way that I want to, and it's not having a problem. The only thing that you need to watch out for is if your foot lifts up. Some machines have a very slight hop where the foot actually raises just slightly when it is sewing. And I'm not talking about before you're sewing or before the foot goes down. I'm not talking about a hover feature. I'm talking about when it's actually sewing. If you watch this foot, if I'm stitching right now, notice how my foot is not changing its height at all. It is literally staying right against the fabric. It is not moving up and down. Some machines, for example, Bernina has a very slight stepping motion where the foot will just slightly move up and down as you sew. And for those machines, if you have a low shank template, we ask you to check safely before you would use a low shank a low shank template to make sure that the foot isn't raising too high and causing problems. So if you're on a Bernina, you absolutely can use a number 72 foot with a long arm or a high shank. We usually avoid the low shank as a recommendation because their foot does move up and down. However, I have done it successfully. We want you to be smart, educated users so that you can safely do this method with all of your tools to the best of your ability. Always test it. Look at the foot, look at the ruler, hold it against there, and make sure you don't see something that is saying, oh wait, that's a problem. You want the foot to stay in place, and you don't want the ruler to have any potential to go underneath it. In addition, when you set your foot in place, make sure that you are not accidentally setting it like that. I have done that, and I have broken a ruler and a needle. Make sure that you're physically looking at the foot and that your ruler is touching the outer circlet. If you have double batting, it's very common that the batting will pop this up to the lip right there. So make sure that you hold right against the foot if you have a double batting. Very, very important to make sure that you're looking at that and making sure that you have a good connection right there like that. This is a big no-no. Okay, sorry, Mom. Enough, reprovals. Okay, so you guys, I bet you're tired. I'm tired and it's hot. So I'm gonna go through the feed. I'll check all of our questions and I will definitely respond. If you could do me a favor, please like or share if you found this information valuable. That helps us to get it out to other people that might find it useful. So if you have quilty friends who were not here, but they might like this information, we appreciate you sharing that, and have a lovely day and have a good weekend. I will see you guys on Friday coming up. My free motion Fridays will have to be postponed, either a change of time or maybe a change of day because I'm working on Friday. So if you like to see that, if you're the free motion Friday viewer, make sure you look for an update and I will specify what time, or if I'm gonna do pre-tape it or whatever. I don't know yet, but I'll figure that out and I'll post it on the Fabricated Quilts site. Okay, thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great day.